Tuesday, 24 January, year of our Lord 2023. January is already more than half over. Well, more than half over. Okay, we're getting ready to start a new class, not a new class, a new day, a new session, a new lesson in personal finance at the Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston. So I am going to jump into the Zoom room now and see if I can admit some folks and do a sound check. Okay. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the Zoom meeting for personal finance. I see you. If you want to show me your camera, you're welcome to do that. I love to see your faces, but most of you don't. Welcome aboard. It is week 2. We're going to talk about budgets and accountability and your homework assignments and everything related to week 2 in personal finance. So welcome aboard. As you can see, this week I'm not in my car. It's kind of a good thing. Can I get someone to please tell me if you can hear me? I'm assuming you can. So remember to chat in and you can hear me. Thank you, Vivian. I appreciate that. Remember when you join the meeting, if you would just put your name and the time that you joined, and I will be saving those comments from Zoom as a kind of a way to keep track of who's in the meeting. So I appreciate that. Let's see. I am going to admit some more folks. We generally have folks joining the meeting until, well, students try to join the meeting. You may want to make a mental note of this in case you missed this announcement in day 1. I'm pretty sure I said or mentioned that each week when we start this Zoom meeting, I will admit students up until 5 minutes after 10. And if you get here after 5 minutes after 10 or 10:05 a.m., I will ignore you in the waiting room. And I will not admit you unless there's some, if you let me know you're going to be late, or if you're going to be late, just please do this. Go ahead and watch. We're streaming live to Facebook and the YouTube right now. And we will do that each week as long as the technology works, which that part of the technology usually works just fine. So if you come late to the Zoom meeting, don't expect to join if it's after 5 minutes after the hour. So 10:05 a.m., I stop admitting students. If you're late a few minutes, a couple minutes, no problem. I won't really start to teach until about 5 minutes after. And then at that point, I will be teaching and I will not be paying attention. I'll be paying attention to the chat through each of these weekly Zoom meetings. That's where, in this Zoom meeting and in the chat in particular, is where you get to post your questions, your comments. And today I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to try to have a conversation with you. And in the process of doing that, I will be asking you and hoping that you will respond in the chat box or just talk to me. So that would be great. Let's see. Martiza, can you hear me okay? Looks like you lost your headset. Can you hear me, Martiza? Marta? Okay, cool. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So it's 10:04 a.m. And as I was saying, if you're here at 10:05 a.m. or after, you will not get admitted. It looks like I've admitted everybody who wants to be here. I'm going to go and check that one more time. Yep, looks like we're all good. So hopefully you can hear me. Everybody can hear me. You can see my screen. I've got confirmation. I want to apologize one more time. Last week, the studio that I'm in right now has been equipped for this course, but somehow it had no power. It's never happened before where I lost power. Actually, it has happened before, but not the way it happened last week. And so I figured out the problem. The problem was a little person. I'm not sure which little person. I have two little people living at my house, my two grandkids with my daughter, Caleb and Maddie. They're beautiful, wonderful, so much fun. And they've learned how to like take a broom and reach up and turn off light switches. And I did not realize that this studio, the power that comes to this studio comes through uh, the utility room in our house. And there's a switch on the wall. I didn't even know that. That switch never gets touched, but someone touched it and turned it off. And it took me, well, it took me a few minutes to figure it out, but I didn't figure it out in time. So last week I was in the car. This week I'm back in business. So let's get started. Okay, it's 10:06 a.m. I am going to jump on over to, so there's a couple things we're going to do today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation, and I hope that you will join me in this conversation. It's a conversation about your expectations this semester in this course. Not just your expectations, but it's usually helpful if we are clear about our expectations. And so I want to take some time today and have a conversation with you. You can use the chat box. In fact, it would be helpful if you use the chat box. If you like to speak up, I would love to hear your voice, whether you show me your face or not. If I can hear your voice, that's awesome. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, listen, this is where, these platforms are designed to make things easier for you. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, maybe you're not watching right now. Maybe you're watching tomorrow or the next day, whenever. If you would be so kind as to put your comments in as we have this conversation, just go ahead and use the comment section and post your comments. So we're going to spend a few minutes and have a conversation about expectations. That's the first thing we're going to do. Let me show you before we get started what's next. This week's assignment is about budgets. So you gave me your kind of your selection, your choice in the class collaboration. I asked you to tell me, just to post, what are you going to use this semester to account for your spending? And so that's an important decision that you've made. Many of you, I know, have made that decision before joining this course. Some of you, in fact, many of you, don't actually currently have a tool that you use to keep track of every penny that you spend. And that's what last week's class collaboration component is for you to think about and choose a tool that you can use to keep track of your spending, and not just in general terms, but to keep track of all of your spending, at least for this semester. I hope you make this decision. I hope you make this choice to keep track of your spending for the rest of your life, because it is, as I talked about last week, the first law of personal finance, the law of spending and saving. Spend less than you earn so that you can save more for what matters most. That personal finance law, that law of personal finance, is really the most important law of personal finance. I hope you got a chance to read my story about my friend Sam, the engineer, who used to be, well, he's passed, but he was a good friend of mine. And when I started teaching this course back in the day, I was spending some time with some good friends. We had coffee every Friday at Einstein's, and we shared our lives with each other, and we prayed together, and we, mainly just helped one another through whatever we were going through. And so when I got the opportunity to teach this course many years ago, I was a little nervous. I was a certified financial planner. I was always giving people financial advice. That's what I did for a living. But the idea of having the opportunity to teach students how to manage money, I'd never taught at a university. My background was education, but it was a big deal for me, and I was nervous. I wanted to do it well, so I shared it with my friends, and the most important advice I got was from my friend Sam. He was an engineer. He wore this little pinky ring because he's from Ireland. Very frugal guy. Frugal meaning that he wasn't like most Americans, okay? His culture, how he grew up, was very, very different from our culture in America, where we spend and we use credit and we buy whatever we want. And it's a culture of consumerism that we live in. And so you, especially you, all of us really, but you in particular, you're like a major target for marketing. And one of the things that gets marketed to you more than anything else is credit. Because with credit, you can afford to buy things that you can't really afford to buy. You don't really need, but you can get them so easily because of credit. So we're a culture of consumerism where credit and debt becomes just a way of life, the water we swim in. And so my friend Sam, being from Ireland, having experienced a very different culture that he grew up in, one of frugality, one where you don't spend money that you don't have. He grew up in a culture in Ireland where he was very careful, and his community was very careful to save more money, to put money aside. And if you look at the differences, the distinctions between the U.S. culture and Ireland, you'll see that that's kind of an important distinction. But in our culture of consumerism, we spend more than we earn, and we use credit to do that. So Sam, my friend, he made me understand that if I teach you one thing, just one thing, that was the important advice that he gave me. If I could just teach you one thing this whole semester, it would be the law of spending and saving, where you spend less than you earn so that you can save more for what matters most. That was my friend Sam. His advice to me as I prepared for this opportunity to teach you personal finance, a lesson, a principle, a process that's so simple, it seems almost like maybe we should just check it off the list and move on. And so it turns out that it's an incredibly important principle. And so this week's lesson is about budgeting and being accountable. Last week, I asked you to select a tool so that you can keep track of everything you spend this semester. It's going to be required this semester that you show me that you're keeping track of your spending. I'm going to hold you accountable for your own accountability, if you will. So we're going to talk about budgets. This week, you're going to be tasked to do a basic budget. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and how that budget will work. But primarily, the budget and the tool that you use to keep track of your spending, they're two different things, but they come together. A budget is a tool that you use to create a governing kind of contract with yourself that says, here is what I'm going to spend, here are the categories, and here is my forward-looking budget. This is the plan that I have for spending, for saving, for spending. That's a budget. But the tool that you use to track that is something else. And so most of you have chosen, and I think it's pretty smart, to use your bank app. So you have something I did not have when I was in college. You have the internet, and you have these awesome things called apps. And so for me, I have a couple of different credit cards that I use. I have one for business. That's me, by the way. I just thought I'd show you that. I keep all this in my phone. This is my wallet. So I have a couple of credit cards that I use all the time, and I use them with my phone. And if I ever want to go check, I can check and see exactly where the money's going. And that's what you can do. It's super easy. Obviously, most of you already know that. You don't need me to tell you that you have this these apps that will keep track of your money. Your bank keeps track of your money, and all you have to do is open that app and see how much you have. Now, when I was your age, I got in big trouble with money. Um, and I may have not, I don't think I've told you this story. My wife and I got in a big fight because um, I was, my wife is more like Sam, very frugal. And I'm more like an American. I like to spend money. And I made good money in college. I worked as an auto mechanic. I was a master mechanic. And so that's how I paid for college. And I made pretty good money. But I like to spend money. So I would spend money and I would spend cash. And because back in the day, we had these ATM cards. I didn't have credit cards. I certainly didn't have a debit card, but I had an ATM. You could go to a machine, put it in the machine, and take out cash. Do you guys have ATM cards? So that's what I did. My wife, on the other hand, she's the one who managed the bills. And so she would be at home writing checks to pay all of our bills. And the way that it worked back then, this is back when the dinosaurs roamed the planet, way back in the day, long before the internet or apps or iPhones, you would have to take out your checkbook and you would have to balance your checking account, because that's the only way you would know what is the amount of money in your account. So you would have to make a list of every check you wrote and every deposit you made, and you would have to reconcile that every single, well, if you wanted to know what your balance was, that's what you would have to do. Now, obviously today, you don't have to do that, because unless you're writing checks, and I know most of you don't write checks, which is strange, because when I started teaching this course, I started out with, here's how you balance your checkbook. And obviously, that was an embarrassing moment in class when someone told the dinosaur, we don't write checks, we use a mobile app. And so that's the way it is today. I know that. I learned that. You taught me that. Well, your predecessors taught me that. But that's the point, is you know exactly what your balance is because your transactions are instant. But back in the day, we had to balance a checkbook. So my wife and I, she would be balancing the checkbook and I would be out using the ATM, which gave me immediate cash from the bank. And what do you think happened? As she was writing checks for rent, for electric, for water, groceries at the grocery store, the car payment, the other stuff we had rented. I had rented furniture back then. That's how stupid I was about money. I didn't realize that it was costing me 3 times as much to buy furniture through the rent to own scam. So I'm taking money out of the ATM because I'm making good money. I feel like I deserve it, right? So I'm taking cash out of the ATM. My wife is writing checks and she's balancing the checkbook, and she sees exactly how much money is in the account because she's got a statement, a paper statement that came in the mail, not by email. Remember, she had no access to online to see what was in the account. It was just that piece of paper, the statement, that she used to reconcile the account. And what do you think happened? Anybody want to post a comment? If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, just tell me what you think in that scenario. If you can take your mind all the way back to the age of dinosaurs, when everything was done by snail mail and paper, the only thing that was instant was when I put that ATM card in the machine, it would spit out cash, and the bank knew immediately that I took out $200. But who didn't know that was my wife, who was at home balancing the checkbook, seeing the balance, knowing that she can write this check. Oh, and she can write one more check and she can pay these bills. So she would do that and she would put the bills in the snail mail, which would get mailed to the rent company or whoever it was. So what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, that's it, Marta. It is Maritza. Did I say that right? So yeah, that's right. She says I overspent my balance or spent an excessive amount that significantly lowered my balance. And then my wife, who's writing the checks, doesn't realize that the balance is negative and she's writing checks. And so then what happens in the end of the month, in the next month when we get our statement from the bank, the paper statement that shows us the actual balance after I took money out using the ATM, what do you think actually happened to our bill, to our statement at the bank? We overspent for sure, but what else happened? What happens when you spend more than you have in your account? I think that still happens today to you if you spend more than you have. What happens? We get a fine. Yeah, it's called a NSF fee. And it could be $15 or that's like $15 for each check. And then you have to pay the check. And if it's a credit card account, you basically have to pay not only the fees, but you have to pay, the credit card interest payment. But in a checking account, you pay an NSF fee. We got a lot of those. And so my wife and I decided we would go on a, my wife decided, and I agreed, that we would go on a spending freeze. We wouldn't spend any more money until we got this problem fixed. And so I'm going to share the rest of that story when we get into the credit crush assignment, because this week we're talking about budgets and accountability. It's basically just how are you going to keep track of how much you're spending. But when we move forward, I think next week, in fact, we're going to do the credit crush, where I'm going to show you what I learned the hard way, and that is how much it costs, how much credit costs, especially when you don't manage it well. So the credit crush assignment, I will extend this story. You can remind me to tell you the rest of the story about what happened when my wife and I went on a spending freeze and how that all evolved, because that story, the credit crush assignment, and how expensive credit is it's a really important part of your learning this semester. So that's coming. But this week, you are going to create a budget, a simple budget, and there's a post and an assignment in Blackboard that will tell you how to do that. It's also more content is in Money Study Group to help you do that. Let's see, I'm going to go now to our expectations conversation. Okay, let's do this. So every semester, I haven't done this every semester, but it's helpful. Usually when we have this conversation, it's very helpful for me because I learn what you expect, and that's what I want, really what I want to learn in the next few minutes from you. So this is an important part of our semester. It will set the table for you and for me so that at the end of the semester, we can be much more confident that we will meet one another's expectations in a way that is easy and less frustrating and more helpful. So let's have the conversation. First question is, what are your expectations of me as your professor? This is an important question for me as your professor because every semester that, well, I've come to believe that I don't really always understand what you expect from me. And if I don't know what you expect from me, then it's not very likely that I'm going to be able to meet your expectations. So take a minute, think about the question. What is it that you expect from me? Your expectations of me. What do you have the right to expect from me this semester in the context of personal finance, an asynchronous course designed to help you learn how to become a millionaire by the time you're 50. That's the stated goal of this course for me. That's my goal. I don't know what your goal is, but that's my goal. So share with me in the comment section, if you would, what do you believe you have the right to expect from me? There should be a couple of things, hopefully a number of things that you're willing to say, yeah, this is what I expect from you. Probably you have similar expectations for all of your professors. You are paying a lot of money for your education. And my role as an instructor is to help you achieve that education. So how do I do that? What do you expect, and what do you have the right to expect from me in this semester? Okay, I'm seeing no comments, which makes me wonder if you're here. Okay, thank you, Jose. I appreciate that, Orlando. Uh, Teach us how to manage money well, especially how to invest and what to invest in and different types of investments. Orlando, I will do that. I will do that and much, much more. Thank you. That's a great expectation. Jose says, I expect that you'll help me learn lifelong lessons that'll help me secure my financial future. I will do my very best to teach you that, and I hope you will do your best to learn those principles. That's awesome. Teach us about managing money. Julietta, that's what this course is about. I'm going to teach you about how to manage money. To learn several approaches that I can take to managing my finances so each person can find what may work best for themselves and their lifestyle. That's a good one. That's a little vague. It's a little broad, rather, because I'm asking you what you have the right to expect from me. It's not so much about the group. I want to know what you expect, what you believe you have the right to expect from me. And that's a good one, Maritza, but it's just a little broad. I expect that with the content you teach us, that it'll help me both in my personal life and my career as an accountant. Awesome. Christian, you're an accountant. That's great. I was born on April 15th. I think I mentioned that. And my first son was born on December 31st. And accounting is, well, it's a really important part of personal finance. Teach us how to manage money in the long run to reach our goals that you set for the future. That's Quentin, that is a good one. Vivian says, I expect you to teach us valuable financial skills that we can apply in our own lives. I also expect you to be available to answer any questions that we have. That's a good one, Vivian. And I'm going to talk about that one in particular because I do absolutely want to be available for any questions that you have. And now is a great place. This Zoom meeting is a great place for me to be available to answer your questions. And Vivian, I love that expectation, but I got to tell you, since we went online, since we're teaching an asynchronous course, I've found that there's a few issues with being available because we do this course, we do this Zoom meeting, and I get very few questions here, but I get a ton of questions outside of here. And so we'll talk about that for in a minute. All right, anything else? Now is your chance to share with me. And again, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please post your comment. What do you have the right to expect from me this semester? And you're welcome to use your comment if you post that on Facebook or YouTube, not in GroupMe, but on Facebook or YouTube. And it may be in Money Study Group as well. Any of those three areas where you post what you have the right to expect from me this semester, you're welcome to grab that as a screenshot, and that will count as your class collaboration element for this semester. There'll be some other things too that you're welcome to grab. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question because I have a good understanding of what you expect from me. We're going to talk a little bit about the availability issue in just a minute. So no other comments, no other expectations. So now I want to share what I believe are my expectations of me. So there are a couple things that, I would add to what you've listed as things that you really have the right to expect from me this semester. So one of them is, you have the right to expect that I'm going to tell you the truth. That is not always easy. Sometimes the truth is hard. Sometimes it's painful, and it's not what you want to hear. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be as thoughtful, considerate, and attentive as I can be when I grade your assignments and when I give you feedback. And so um, you can expect that from me. That's something you can expect from me. Another expectation that I have of me that I want you to know about, so that you can know that I believe you have the right to expect that I be fair. And when I say fair, what I mean is I'm going to treat everybody the same. And so if you get a response, if you ask for something like, can I turn this assignment in late? The answer is going to be no. Doesn't really, it's just going to be no. You can turn it in late, but there's a certain protocol for turning your assignments in late, and it won't make you fail the course if you turn it in late. But here's the thing: with over 100 students in the course, I have to have a system that's fair. And if I start picking and choosing who I'm going to make exceptions for, it becomes very impossible for me to be fair. And so if you look at the syllabus, you will see that this course is set up in a way that makes it so easy for you to earn an A if you just do the things that are spelled out so clearly in the syllabus. And so if you decide, or, for example, if you decide that you're going to turn your assignments in at the very last minute and something happens and you can't do that, you're going to end up with a late assignment, which is worth 1 point if you turn that assignment in within 2 weeks. If you turn it in 3 weeks, it's 0. And what that means is, if you get a 0 on an assignment, you get another deduction from class participation. And that's just not negotiable. And so if that happens to you and you call me up or email me or text me and you ask me to make an exception, my answer is going to be no. And that's something that I think you deserve to know, and you need to know that that's an expectation that I am committing to, because that's the only way I can be fair. Listen, some of you are A students. In fact, most of you are A students, and you earn that A. And when you graduate from this university with your A, I hope it means something. But here's the problem. Some of you are more like me. I was never an A student. I did the least amount of work I could do to pass the course. Honestly, I worked full time. I got married while I was in college. I had my first child while I was in college. I was paying for my own college. I wanted the education. I wanted the degree, but it just didn't matter to me to be a 4.0 student. That wasn't my big goal in life. Now, many of you are committed to get an A in every course, and I think that's awesome. And I think that means something. It should mean something. But for you students who are more like me, to expect that you can just, ask for extensions and do not high quality A work and just, that's not something you can expect from me. You can expect I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be fair. So hopefully I don't have to go into that in any more detail. And I'm trying to think of anything else you can expect from me. Here's one. You can expect that if you get in trouble with your grades, you're going to hear from me, you're going to hear from the university, and you're going to be put on notice. So if you choose not to respond to that alarming email that you get or whatever from me, That's on you. But you can expect that I'm going to keep an eye on your performance. And if you get in trouble in your grade, you're going to hear from me by email. And I'm going to notify the folks who I'm responsible to keep track of your performance so that you don't waste your money in this course, so that you don't waste your time and your money in this education you're pursuing. So I know that doesn't apply to most of you. Most of you are A students, and I'm sorry to have to even spend time on these kind of issues, but I think it's important that everyone knows what we expect from one another. So now I want to talk a little bit about an unworkable expectation, and that's Vivian's question or comment expectation about me being available to answer your questions. It's not it's a good expectation for me to be available, but this is an asynchronous online course. If you have a question, many questions that you have, many questions that I answered via email this week could have easily been answered through GroupMe. I know most of you, I don't know, I assume that many of you love to help, love to contribute, love to participate in being helpful. And you know the answers. So some of you, again, are more like me. You wait until the last minute and you want to just ask someone, hey, what do we need to do this week? Or how does this work? That was me. I was always calling my friends saying, hey, I didn't take notes in class. I didn't even go to class, but hey, tell me what I need to know. And, I had good friends and they would do that. And that's awesome. And that's what I'm asking you to do, is to be that good friend and to use GroupMe as a way to be available to answer those questions that honestly probably shouldn't even need to be asked, but inevitably, absolutely, they will always be needed to be asked because so many students just kind of miss the memo. So if you miss the memo, you didn't go to the Zoom, you didn't watch the Zoom meeting, you didn't do the homework, you just don't get it, that's okay. But what is a little bit unworkable, what's a little bit unreasonable, something that I expect that I don't want you to expect from me is that I be available to answer every question you have throughout the semester that could be answered in a different way through calling a friend. So our version these days of calling a friend and asking a question that's already been answered is GroupMe. So if you send me questions that should have been answered in GroupMe and I get inundated with those kinds of emails, I have a business to run. I do this. I spend a number of hours teaching this course and trying to be available, but I am not I'm not available in that way where you have constant access to me. So Vivian, that was a great expectation, but I want to be clear about how we've set up this course so that you get all of your questions answered along the way. And one of them is through GroupMe. So please, if you're available in GroupMe and you can help answer questions, you're doing me a huge favor. You can grab those screenshots if you want to share those in your assignment so that I know you're answering questions. That will give you a little insurance that you'll get your full 200 points. And not only that, but you will have my deepest and most sincere appreciation for being that resource to help answer those questions that you can answer instead of me having to answer. So I don't mind answering emails or text messages. I'm happy to do that. I'm very good at it. I mean, I can do it. I'm not going to say her name because every time I say her name, it summons her on my devices, but she does great dictation. So I will answer all of your questions. If there's a question that you're not getting answered in GroupMe, please don't hesitate to email or text me. If you don't know my contact information, it's in the syllabus. So that's that. I just want to be careful to clarify that that's why we have GroupMe, for those kinds of questions. Now, if you're in GroupMe and you see that someone's asking the same question and there's no real answer coming, please don't hesitate to email me or text me and I'll get you an answer so that you can then turn around and post it in GroupMe because we want to make sure everybody's questions get answered. And there are some things that only I can fix, which is kind of cool to be in that position. So if there's a problem with the website or with the online planning portal or any of those tools, I can get those fixed almost immediately as long as I know they're not working. Most things work pretty well in this course. The technology is proven, it's great. But anyway, GroupMe is your resource for asking questions that are probably pretty simple questions. So think before you send me an email or a text message. Is this a question for the professor, or is this a question to ask a friend? And please help me with that. I appreciate it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now, I want to know, what's your expectation of you? Like, what do you think that I have the right to expect from you? That's the next question. That's another question. And it's an important one. So let's spend a minute, think about it, and then just give me your answer. What do you think I have the right to expect from you? And you can say any professor, really. What is your instructor, the person who's on the other side of this camera, trying to help you learn and grow and gain the knowledge and the skills that you need, that you want, that you're paying for in whatever topic? In this topic, I want to teach you how to manage money in a way that will help you become a millionaire by the time you're 50. That's my goal. That's a very specific thing. And if I can do that, if I can teach you how to become a millionaire by the time you're 50, along the way, you're going to learn a ton of things about managing money that are going to be tremendously important to you. So I'm trying to do that. But what do I have the right to expect from you in this process this semester? I'm going to wait, take a couple breaths, attend and or watch lecture following the principles I teach. Orlando, that's great. Thank you for that. Yes, by the way, this Zoom meeting, even if you can't be here, because this is an asynchronous course, it is required. So thank you for that. Oh, they're coming in fast. Abigail says to take this course seriously, learn the material, and keep up with due dates. Yeah, that's a great one. And if you look, Abigail, that's a great expectation. I appreciate that. And I do think that's an expectation that I have the right to expect from you. So in fact, if you look at the syllabus, you will see that I've been doing this a while, and the whole course is set up in such a way that you're incentivized to stay ahead, to keep up. And if you don't, if you fall behind, you're penalized. And so there's lots of support to help you keep up, but that's a really important and really good expectation, that you just keep up with the assignments and the due dates. Jose says, I think you have the right to expect me to do all of my assigned work. Uh-oh, they're moving up the page. Thank you guys for all of your comments. I'm going to get to each one, I promise. Jose says, I think you have the right to expect me to do all of my assigned work in a timely manner, and do my best to ask questions during class to clear up any misunderstandings I may have. Jose, I think that's awesome. I think that's great. And thank you for that. Quentin says you have the right to expect that we've read the syllabus and understand what's expected of us to succeed in the class. Yeah, that's pretty good. That syllabus has evolved over the years, and I think it's a pretty good tool for you in that regard, Quentin. I hope it is. But this conversation is also pretty helpful. Let's see. Maritza says to make sure I manage my time properly and be able to complete my assignments in a timely manner, also to retain and apply my advice and information in regard to managing your finances. That is a good one. Although I got to say, I like it. I hope for that, but I can't really say that I expect you to follow and apply my advice. I'll tell you more about that as we go along, but I promise you this, the advice I give you will work and it will help you. But I know from doing this for a while that not everybody will actually do that. And so I believe I have the right to expect you do your assignments and you do your work and you achieve a certain minimum amount of competency in the work that we do. But whether or not you actually decide you're going to apply the principles, that's a personal choice that I hope you make. But anything that requires you to make a personal choice is not something that I feel like I can really have the right to expect. But I'm going to do my best to convince you and to persuade you. I promise you that. Let's see. Christian says to be critical of myself, pay attention to areas of my expenses that I can lower and get the most bang for my buck. Again, that's a great, that would be a great expectation for you to have of yourself. But for me, I'm going to expect that you show me, that you demonstrate that you understand expenses and how they are accounted for and what is a reasonable expense. And if you don't demonstrate that to me, you can expect that I expect you to do a little more research. That's kind of the bottom line. I expect you to not be clueless moving forward about the topics that we cover. You may have been clueless. You may be clueless right now, and you may have been clueless yesterday, but you're not going to be clueless moving forward. And if you are, my expectation is that you do a little research and get unclueless. So that's a good one. Jasmine says to have better understanding of money management and personal finance by the end of this course and to take the course seriously since money is a huge aspect of our lives. That's a great one. By the way, that picture right there, that's Maddie and that's Caleb. And one of those people were responsible for, I don't know. I wasn't there, but anyway, that's beside the point. Okay, so Julietta says, attend lectures, complete my assignments and questions if needed, and gain a better understanding of financial management. That's a good one. I think that's good. And Vivian says, you can expect me to be organized and motivated to learn and apply the skills that are taught. I should participate and value the time and effort that I put in the course. I think that's good. I think that is a good one. I think that I'm going to make that my expectation. It's well said too. I can expect you to be organized and motivated to learn and apply the skills that I teach you. And definitely, I expect that you participate in the course and that you value the time and effort that I put into the course and creating the course and making this course effective for you. Gosh, I don't know if I have the right to expect that, but I really would love that you demonstrate that. And man, most of you almost all of you do. And those of you who end up, failing the course, there's always a couple who fail the course. Typically, generally, it's a matter of something went crazy this semester and it just didn't work out. So you have another chance to do it next semester. But by and far, most of you do exactly what Vivian just said. And I appreciate that. I'm going to keep that comment and that expectation and hold it close. Okay, that was the expectations conversation. Before we move on, I'm just going to take a couple breaths and see if you have any comments, insights, or questions about expectations, and then we'll move on to the budget. I'm going to just count backwards. 3, 2, 1. I don't see any comments. So again, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to leave a comment or a question, and I'll try to get there. Okay, let's talk about budgets. Budgets and accountability. This week's assignment that you're going to do on Blackboard, it's really easy. Most of you, well, I don't know about most of you. Some of you, especially the accounting majors, have you have a budget and you're good at creating budgets. Honestly, budgeting is not something I enjoy. It's not something I love to do, but it is important. I don't care what kind of budget you create. I just want to know that you took the time to create some kind of budget based on your personal situation that shows your income, your expenses, and categorizes those. So you can use any tool you want. I really don't care. I've given you some ideas, some suggestions. I've given you, some resources. I think NerdWallet is great. I've been following them for some time. I got to meet the team there when I used to go to a conference called FinCom, Financial Community, I think is what it stands for. I haven't gone in a while, but got to meet these guys and they do a great job. So this was basically just copy and paste from their website. It's a great, great resource. So they give you how to make a budget in 5 steps if you don't know how. If you do, again, I don't care how you do your budget. I just want to see what you've got. I want to see what you consider a budget. And there's lots of ways to make a budget. One of them is a zero-based budget is one of my favorites. If you don't know what that is, you might Google that. Finally, before we close out today, and we're running quickly out of time, I want you to meet your Bayrock planning portal. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into Right Capital. Now, Right Capital is the company that we've hired to, that I've hired to, I don't want to log in. Let me see. I want to show you what you will do. I'm going to go, I think it's Bayrock Portal.com. Actually, no, that's not it. So this is the investment for folks who have investments with Bayrock. Bayrock Plan, that's what it is. Bayrock. And you have a link, excuse me, you have a link to Right Capital. I think that'll take us there. Oh, come on. Okay. I'm trying to remember. Maybe I won't do that. Maybe there's a link right here. There's a link right here. So here I am trying to find this. So this takes you, that link that I just clicked on takes you right here. So what I want to do, I don't really have enough time. Maybe I'll do this next week, or I'll do a video. I'll do a video this week, but you click on this. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to just walk you through it to make it as easy as possible. So I will create a video where I'm just going to go and create a plan. I've done this multiple times, so I may just find one of my old videos, but it's very simple. This is Right Capital is the company that my company hires to do financial planning. And they don't do the planning, they just create the software. Right Capital is a technology company. I think they're great. My company, Bayrock, works with Right Capital. This is the tool that I use with my clients to create financial plans. And so you have access to this tool this semester. It's part of what you paid to be part of Money Study Group is access to this platform. And you're going to be using this platform to create your financial plan this semester. A lot of the work you do this semester will be right here in this portal. So the link, you'll find the link. I want you to create an account. You can use whatever email you can use whatever email address you want, your U of H email or your personal email. It doesn't matter to me. I would suggest you use the same email in your planning portal as you used when you signed up for Money Study Group, just to keep it simple. So you're going to put in your information, create a password, and then create an account. When you create an account, you will now have I will give you access to all of the features that you're going to need this semester to create your financial plan. And one of the things you're going to do is, let me see if I can I'll show you a plan real quick just so you can see. I'm going to log in. Is it letting me? It's not letting, it doesn't see my face because the camera's in. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go to Billy Adams. Billy is one of our samples. So now you're just seeing Billy's dashboard, and you'll have the same thing. So the first thing you're going to do is when you set up your plan, you've got to go through these cards. And when I say cards, I'm talking about, you see where I'm. These are cards: net worth, goals, income, savings, expenses, family. So you'll go into each one of these cards. These actually, every piece of data that you add in this plan is called a data card. So here's Billy's checking account. That's a data card, but it's under the net worth tab. So when you set up your account, when you start setting up your account, I got to log out to show you that, but you saw the page that I was on before. That's the page you're going to go to when you set up your account, and you're going to start off with these sections. Net worth, you're going to set up some goals. You're going to plug in your income. You're going to plug in any savings that you have, and then here's the one that is kind of what I wanted to just make sure you saw. When you get to expenses, you can use this tool to create a budget. And you can also, come on now. Well, like I said, I'll do another video. This isn't working real well right now. I'm not sure why. I think I pushed on too many things. So here are some expenses. Now, you see living expenses here. These expenses are, Billy used the simple approach, but we could use a detailed worksheet. And if we did, and you'll have access to this and you can choose, you can do simple or detailed, but in your assignment, one of your assignments, I'm going to require you to use the detailed approach. So when you go to expenses, you have to figure out what is your monthly expense. When we do financial planning, this is an important piece of the puzzle. How much money do you spend each month or each year? And so this is where you will enter this information into your financial plan. This isn't the same as your budget that you're doing this week. You'll have instructions to do the simple budget. But as you start to build your financial plan, whatever you have in your budget will just go into this section of your plan so that you can start to see, as you build your plan over the semester, you can start to see how your expenses, how your spending fits into your overall financial plan. So trust me, it may seem complicated, but it's not. It's one step at a time. One of the steps you're going to take this week is to set up your financial plan with Right Capital. And from there, I'm going to show you each week, you're going to do another section, another little piece. And over the course of the semester, I'm going to teach you how financial planning works, how personal finance works, by helping you create a comprehensive financial plan. And we will use Right Capital, the tool that I use at Bayrock Financial, to do that. One other thing I want to mention real quick is, when you go to net worth, you'll see this little button right here. Now, this causes controversy every semester, and I want to do my best to eliminate the controversy and let you know that it's optional. It's a powerful tool. Linking your account is a powerful tool. And if you were my client, I would tell you it would be foolish for you to not use this tool, because it's the only way, it's the best way for me to look into your financial life and see and help you make wise choices moving forward. But in this course, you get to decide. I really don't care if you link your accounts or not. Some of you have chosen to use mint.com. If you're not familiar with mint.com, you might want to check it out. It's pretty cool. It does something that we call aggregate your accounts. So if you have 10 different accounts, credit union, a savings account, a checking account, an investment account at eMoney or eTrade or Robinhood or whatever, you just go into mint.com and you put in your login credentials into mint.com, and it will aggregate all of those accounts so that you can see a whole picture of your financial life. And it's a sweet, very powerful thing, mint.com. It's bank level encryption. I think it's pretty cool. Well, what we've done with Right Capital is the same thing. The big difference between what you're using here when you link your accounts and what you have at mint.com, the big difference is advertising. So if you use a tool, a premium tool like we make available at Bayrock for clients, again, you have access to this and you get to do the same thing you would do at mint.com, but you wouldn't get all the advertisements and promotions here that you get there. So when you click on link account, you can aggregation. Oh, what did we do? Yeah, so here's just some of the financial institutions that you can click on. I use US Bank. I love US Bank. I also have a Chase account. I have a Wells Fargo account, which you don't see Wells Fargo there. So what would you do? You would go Wells Fargo, and there it is. So that's it. I just wanted to mention this because uh, this is an area that a lot of students complain about and say that I'm trying to get access to your financial information. I couldn't care less about your financial information, but I do care very deeply to know that you are that you're paying attention to your spending this semester. And so you're welcome to use the tool that we've provided if it's helpful, but don't feel obligated and don't complain to me that I'm offering it to you, please. One final thing about the Right Capital Bayrock portal is this. It is made available to you for this semester, but I don't delete your account after this semester. So if you want to continue to build your financial plan after this semester is over, I'm thrilled to make this tool and this resource available to you at no additional cost. It's not, it's a valuable resource and you can keep it as long as you use it. I'm not sure, it won't go on indefinitely, but at least for a year. And after that, we can talk about if you want to continue to use it. All you got to do is let me know. If you're not active in it, though, there's a lot of students who have, set up an account. They will get deleted at some point. But I just wanted to let you know that if you want to continue to use this after this semester, it is absolutely available for you. And I hope it's helpful. So that's it. We're out of time. I went a little over. Again, I'm going to try to end every week at 11. That's only 1 hour. This is a 3-hour course, but you're going to have to put up with me in some videos this week and every week in your content, your online course. So I'm going to try to spare you any extra FaceTime with me during the Zoom meetings. So now I'm going to just sit here and see if there are any questions. If you have questions and you're watching on Facebook or the YouTube, you're welcome to post them. But I would suggest, really, if you have questions throughout the week, that you start by posting those questions in GroupMe. And if they're not getting answered in GroupMe, please reach out to me and I'll make sure you get an answer. But most of the questions that I answered this week were really easy questions that could have been answered in GroupMe. One question I got this week, by the way, a student asked about, if I go over 800 to 1,000 words in my assignment, is that okay? Or will I be penalized? You will not be penalized for going over. I just really don't want a 20,000 word article. That's why I say 800 to 1,000 to give you a little context, a parameter. Hopefully that's helpful. So you guys did a great job this week, by the way, on those articles. Beautiful formatting, pictures, screenshots. Awesome. One final thing before I go. If you're taking screenshots by taking a picture of your screen, you will get a 0 on the assignment. It'll get sent back to you with a little note that says, here's where you can go to learn how to take a real screenshot. Pictures of your screen will not work. You need to know how to do screenshots. So that only a couple of those came in as pictures of a screen, but that won't work. One final other thing is the PDF. Don't forget export. If you create it in Word, your document with all your screenshots, just before you submit it, export it to PDF and then upload the PDF. I appreciate that. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to jump on over and end. I'm going to end the broadcast. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you're about to be stopped going